So the next one is Tim Cook. Tim Cook is leaving Apple. And I think that it's not just an isolated incident. I think that it has a greater conversation around leadership in AI. It feels like wherever you turn, wherever you go on social, there are conversations about how AI is replacing people and how like normies like myself are basically going to be replaced by AI. And there also seems to be not only backlash, but also this conversation of like, well, what happens to leaders? What happens to C-suite? What happens to like the people in leadership when AI comes in? And I think what's happening with Tim Cook, but then also Elon Musk versus Sam Altman, because they're in court right now, that is actually that's what it looks like on their end. And so, obviously, I don't have any insider trading notes from Apple, but MSN does. MSN has insiders that are claiming that Tim Cook is basically leaving because he kind of took a backseat and let other companies really kind of push the way for AI. And now that he is gone and they have their new successor, AI is going to be a major dominant priority for them, which is very signaling that like once he leaves, we're going to completely go all in. And so I think that's very interesting. It showcases that even in a leadership level, AI is creating uncertainty, it's creating risk even for leaders. And they might have to decide whether or not they are going to basically go in a different direction, go into the direction that everyone else is kind of focusing on, or if they're going to leave the company, which is what we're seeing here. In addition to that, you have Elon Musk suing Sam Altman. And basically, you have two polarizing figures yelling at each other in court. The crux of the lawsuit is about basically OpenAI starting off as a nonprofit, and then it became very clear that they were not going to be able to make the funding and get the funding that they needed in order to create what they wanted. So they shifted to a for-profit model, and it's kind of exploded and done all the things if you've been on the internet and you've seen. And so apparently what happened was Musk was originally a part of one of the core people at the very beginning when it was a nonprofit. And then once it became clear it wasn't going to be a nonprofit, he booked it. He left. And so there's been a lot of controversy around OpenAI, specifically around Sam Altman. He tends to have the same kind of gravitational pull that Elon Musk does. He's deeply polarizing. He's got his deep devotees. He's got people who hate him. They have both had kind of like exposés. Elon Musk has had multiple articles and books written about him. And then Ronan Farrow just wrote an expose on Sam Altman in the New Yorker that was detailing basically what happened when he was ousted and kind of the inside baseball of all of that. But it really, the TLDR to that article was like Sam lies a lot and people don't trust him. And so that being at the forefront of this massive AI tool that people are already scared about is not really good for business. And so I think it's fascinating to see these three key players and how AI is absolutely changing how people view them, how they are seen in business. They are either making a ton of money off of it, not making a ton of money off of it, getting exposés, being kind of ridiculed. In Sam Altman's case, his house was attacked twice. It's a lot of stuff.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think the Tim Cook news, most people kind of felt it came out of nowhere. So
Mhm,
it was interesting to see MSN
mhm.
piece come out saying that, like, it's basically because he, fumbled to AI and like the response, which is also funny because I had recently heard how like it basically worked out for Apple that they didn't start doing any of the AI because now that Anthropic, OpenAI, Perplexity, and Grok are all kind of like fighting to, be the supreme, AI. They're kind of opening up the exclusivity deals that they had like signed.
Mhm.
Like OpenAI just recently announced that they're no longer going to be exclusive with Microsoft, which means that they're opening up to other, services, mainly Apple, right? So that they, could find their way into your iPhones basically, right? And then obviously, people are talking about, oh, like maybe they just acquire, Anthropic and like just, own that and, put their backing behind one of the horses. Um the other thing though is that John Ternus, who's coming in, is like the SVP of hardware engineering. So it's interesting that, you know, if Tim Cook did choose a successor, I mean, it's a successor in the hardware division and not necessarily the software side that
Mhm.
would potentially do more of the AI. So I do wonder how much they actually are going to go full tilt into this.
Mhm.
Because, the other thing that like, talking heads have been saying as well is just like that Apple as a product maker has kind of also started diminishing as being like the best of the best. They're not really coming out with new products, right? It's
Yeah.
still an
They've come up
iPhone.
with
It's
cheaper
still a
it's cheaper. There's like a cheaper
right.
MacBook that they released, and I was like, "Apple, I love this, but I hate this for you because what does this
Yeah.
say that you have to create this?" Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. Tim Cook's been there for a while now, so, like, maybe there is, a room for new leadership as we're seeing with, like, Xbox, right? Maybe this is a chance for a new CEO to come in, have new blood, new ideas, and take it in that direction, right? Because even, like, when you're talking about, Tim Cook's, being, like, the CEO, it's not that he was there as, like, the most innovative guy. He was known as a logistics master, right? Like, where
Yeah.
they would be able to, do what they needed to do to build as many products as fast as possible in China and like, figure out how to do everything logistically. He did that, right? So he was successful in that regard.
Yeah.
I think at the, expense of new innovative like products, which is kind of like that brand identity for Apple. So I'll be curious to
Yeah.
see if they do kind of start reverting back to some of that, original marketing that they used to have. Some of the most famous like marketing campaigns come from like OG Apple, right?
Mhm.
So I'll be curious to see if they do kind of like lean on that and try to like, go in that direction when they had such a big moment during the Artemis 2, like space, the rockets, because like you had the astronauts using the phones
Yeah.
on, camera.
Yep.
Um, and they didn't really do much with it, which is kind of
Yeah.
interesting. So I'm like, is this just because it's a changing of the guard and you want to like allow the new guy to come in and like do his
Oh, I
thing?
would if I was at Apple, I would treat it the way Omega did. Like, every time you see Omega, like
Right?
like Rolex will try to say something and Omega's like, "Nope, we were on the moon first. Say less."
Yeah,
Like, I would make it my entire personality that we
I
were a part of it,
know. Ugh,
but it's interesting.
it's crazy.
I think that Apple tries to, like, set themselves above the conversation,
Mhm.
so it's like it lessens them if they join the conversation and kinda fangirl with everyone else. I do think it's interesting the new person that they have because I think it showcases that between him and Tim Cook, that they realize that they cannot replace Steve Jobs. Like, I
Mhm.
think I'm glad that they've picked someone who's, like, deeply entrenched, has, like, an engineer buy-in, so they have the credibility, so, like, the tech boys are gonna accept this person and be like, "Yep, they're smart
Mhm.
enough. That's a good person," instead of
Mhm.
going for personality. I do love that they don't go for personality because there are brands who have absolutely had a cult of personality CEO, and
Mhm.
then they try to bring on someone else to fill that hole, and they are not doing that. I think that's very smart. I think it would
Mhm.
be a massive distraction, and it would be very obvious if they were trying to, like, usurp Steve Jobs. I think they've realized over the years that, like, no one's gonna be able to fill those black
I mean, we're
turtlenecks.
seeing
Like,
that
he's
on the other end
just
with Sam Altman and Elon Musk, right?
Yes.
Like, woe is the day when those CEOs have to be replaced, right? I mean, Sam Altman may be a little bit easier because he hasn't been in the discourse as long as Elon Musk has, right? I mean, the original Iron Man, right?
Elon Musk is Hammer, not Tony Stark, but
Yeah, yeah.
that's me being very deeply Marvel entrenched.
At the
But yeah.
time? At the time?
Yes.
Or
He's
like
Hammer.
now?
He's Hammer. Both,
Interesting.
both.
Oh,
For those
um,
who are not big Marvel fans, that was who Sam Rockwell played in Iron Man 2. That's who I think
mhm.
Elon Musk is more like. He's deeply funded by the government. He takes other people's ideas. Like, he's Hammer. He's not Stark.
That is true, that
Elon's
is
not making
true.
anything in a cave.
Yeah.
Nothing in a cave. He's Hammer.
That's
He's
so
not Stark.
funny.
Yeah.
And then, Sam Altman has now created this persona of like being so cutthroat. I mean, one of the most famous lines about him is drop him in the middle of a, deserted island and you'll come back and find him as the leader. Right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
that says a lot about what people think about you, both in terms of like, there is like an awe and respect for that game, but then also like holy shit, yeah, he's gonna do what's necessary to get to that point, right? So it is an interesting, point 'cause,
Mhm.
as much as we say, yes, marketers are gonna be replaced by AI, it just shows this, like, lack of understanding of what actual marketing does, right?
Yeah. Well, and
Um
until AI can learn discernment, we're gonna be fine. I'm a firm believer in the revenge of the humanities.
Mhm,
I think we're gonna continue to see massive layoffs. Then the price of AI and the tokens are gonna be too expensive, and so
mhm,
that's gonna a lot of people that were previously, like, gung ho on AI, I don't need humans, are gonna realize that the human labor is actually less expensive, and it's actually able
mhm.
to create better work. So you're
Yeah.
gonna see it shift.
We already seen some of, like, the tech CEOs coming out and saying like, "Oh, wow,
Mhm.
like, this is actually way more expensive than we thought it was gonna
Yeah.
be."
Well,
Um
Anthropic you saw that Anthropic got rid of, Claude Code from Pro, and then they got
Mm.
caught, and they put it
Ooh,
back.
that's right. That's right. Yeah, 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 yeah.
So it's
Yeah, I
gonna
saw.
but the thing is that, like, the AI is it's using too many resources, it's very, very expensive, and they've basically given us the as free a ride as they can give us. They're gonna have
Mhm,
to start seeing return. There's been too much investment in it, and the only way to get
mhm,
that money back is to raise the prices, and so there's gonna be a price level for everyone, even the people who were, like, hyper love AI, like, love it to
mhm,
pieces. At some point, they will get priced out, and
mhm.
so you're gonna have to go back to traditional work. You're gonna have to go to humans and experts and things like that, but I think a lot of people are gonna start they've seen the telltale signs of AI design, of AI writing, and so it's gonna go back to in order to stand out, you have to actually like, you
Yeah, yeah,
literally
yeah.
can't create AI content if you wanna stand out.
Someone launched a, like, AI that will, like, put in misspellings in your content to, like, try to prove that, like, you're human. And, like, last week we were talking about how, particularly in, like, movies and film, one of the huge reasons why I think, Project Hail Mary was, able to promote so much of their content by having the cinematographers and the directors kind of talk about their process and how they created, the sets and, like, the costumes and all that, is because people really like seeing human creation
Yeah.
creating these things and not AI having to use a green screen to
Yep.
create space, right? And I think that a lot more content is going to head in that direction. And that kind
Oh,
of like
yeah.
segues into so Andor won a Peabody.
Mhm.
And so it was like one of the best shows of like last year. There's a way for especially movie studios to start thinking about how can we create human content using those like the people that can create things, right,
Mhm.
like those actual sets and the actual costumes, and stop relying so much on AI and thinking that that's the only way to create more films and like cut costs is by
Mhm.
like doing using AI, when we're starting to find out that actually it is more expensive to be using AI, especially on such huge projects like this, right? Maybe we do need more like humans creating stories and like, maybe simplifying. I think that was one of the things that like with Andor is like that constantly comes up is that it actually wasn't that expensive to make because they were filming more like on actual sets and they had like actual, humans. They didn't really do many of like the alien characters that they do in some of the movies and stuff. So I think that those of us that do care about like art being created and storytelling, narrative, and all this, to start giving more of the money towards that
Mhm.
direction. So it's kind of been really cool to see like the acolyte kind of make it back into the conversation because people are discovering it now for the first time, and you have a bunch of new like viewers actually watching it and being like, hey, this actually wasn't as bad as the haters made it out to seem. So I do hope that there's like a we're rethinking how we're creating, especially within like Star Wars and Marvel,
Mhm.
and creating more human stories and not just trying to rely on CGI and like green screens to like create art. Christina, I know you're a huge Star Wars and Marvel fan, obviously, so would love
Yeah.
to know your thoughts. I know you weren't the greatest fan of the Acolyte. I wasn't either, but I think
Yeah.
the bigger lesson of like creating new ideas that aren't just the same old characters is like what appeals
Yeah.
to me.
No, absolutely. So I did not get through the whole Acolyte, although I know how it ends and like all the major story beats. I got through the first 2 episodes and what I left with was I love the concept. I love that it's other than like the Skywalker saga. I love that it had very interesting stories. I actually love the idea. Like, I'm not one of the haters that's like anti-women. If anything, I'm protesting at Disney's door to be like, where's Mara Jade? Where's my girl?
Mhm.
Like, where is she? That's what I want. I want her front and center. Um, the problem for me is that the story was great, the writing was not good, and the sets were giving CW 1998. I don't know where the money went, like, I hope someone got a $1,000,000 house out of it because the money went somewhere. I don't know where it went, it did not go to those sets. Absolutely not. Um, I think it was also very interesting that it was very, like, fight heavy and choreography heavy, and there were, like, all these things, and Andor was not. Like,
Mhm.
Andor famously, like, there's no
No
lightsaber
lightsaber, right?
fights.
Mhm.
There's none, and it's absolutely beautiful. Like, I adore Andor. It
Mhm.
deserves every award and more. I'm still mad that, like, the women
Right?
did not get any of the nominations. Like,
Mhm.
what do you mean none of them got it? Like, they
Mhm.
all were absolutely phenomenal, but I think it comes down to storytelling.
Mhm.
I think that also plays in with the AI thing, which is you can have AI write your novels, but there's a reason why everyone can see it a mile away. There's a reason why and we're seeing this in the publishing industry where there's a lot of AI books that are like clearly AI that are getting pulled, and people were able
Mhm.
to be like, God, this is horribly written. And it's because AI, the discernment, but also AI it's always going to create based on what it's learned. So it's not going to be able to create something that's wholly new. It's not going to be like, it can be an echo of someone else, but it isn't going to create something entirely new. And so storytelling is a huge opportunity for people to come in, showcase what they know, showcase their craft. And that's a beautiful thing. I think that was what was so beautiful about Project Hail Mary. I love the
Mhm.
storytelling. The storytelling in Andor is great. I think that if you had taken the same premise and given it better writers and a better set, the haters are still going to hate it. Like they hated it for what it
Mhm.
was, not for like
I
the
mean, people
individual
hated
pieces.
Andor, right?
Those people, that's the
I feel like
biggest
it's the
red
same
flag.
people,
Like
you
that
know?
just like tell me you don't know what you're talking about without telling me you don't know what you're talking about if you didn't like Andor.
Yeah.
But I think storytelling is a huge opportunity for people to step in. And I think that storytelling wins. So one of the things that I love that just came out is called The Other Bennett Sister. And it's about Mary
Yeah.
Bennett. It's an adaptation. It's basically a side story adaptation of Pride and Prejudice, but from Mary's perspective, and it continues the story past where Pride and Prejudice ends. I'm a major Jane Austen fan. I absolutely adored The Other Bennett Sister
Mhm.
because it was faithful where it needed to be faithful, and then it explored where it could explore. And the cast was fantastic. It was beautifully shot. It definitely had like Jane Austen's fingerprints all over it. It was so beautifully done,
This
but it
is
was
on
storytelling.
BBC or PBS?
BBC.
Okay. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Because I know there's that other Pride and Prejudice coming out on
I'm
Netflix, right?
I'm worried about it. The girl who played Mary in The Other Bennett Sister also auditioned for Mary in that one, and they didn't pick her because they didn't think she was Mary. And I was like, "Girl, that is Mary. Jane Austen's ghost could tell you that was Mary." Their persuasion is I need like emotional compensation for what they did to that book. So I'm not pro
That's the
Netflix on
Dakota
them
one,
touching Jane
right?
Austen. So I hope that they do a good job with
Yeah.
it, but I am not like the casting's fantastic apart from She's a Perfect Mary. But we'll see. But yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I have heard
gives me pause.
because who is it? Jack Loudon is Darcy, and people are saying that's not my Darcy, because
I
he's, like,
love Jack
blonde or
Loud
redhead or
well, he's
something.
ginger, yeah, he's ginger.
Yeah.
I love him. I love him. He's like a hot Simon Pegg, and so I love him, but he does
Awesome.
not give Darcy. He does not give Darcy. He gives Knightley. He'd be a great Knightley.
Mm, that's funny.
I don't think he'd be Darcy, though. No, I agree with that, actually. But
That's
yeah,
funny.
we like him. He's
Yeah,
Saoirse
I mean,
Ronan's
people
husband.
have their, yeah, 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 no, I know, and they had their, kid recently. I love them together.
Mhm. Yep.
Um, yeah, because well, what was it? It was reminding me of I do remember though that, when, what's his name? Matthew McFadyen was, announced, people didn't like him either, right? Because
Oh,
it's
he's
like you had
great.
Colin Firth,
I love
who's
them
like
both. They
the
scratch
Darcy,
different
you know?
itches. They scratch like, I will not choose between them.
Yeah,
They are 2 different purposes. When I'm
yeah.
in the mood for one, I'm not in the mood for the
Mhm,
other.
mhm,
I
mhm.
love them both equally.
Mhm, mhm. Well, that's why I'm holding out for Jack Loudon because I love him too,
Oh, he's
um,
great. I'm a big
to
fan.
be
But I
yeah,
agree, like, Darcy's gonna be I don't
yeah.
know, like, he was fantastic in War and Peace. Like,
Okay.
he
Kind
was
of a
great in War and
similar vibe,
Peace.
isn't it?
He's I mean, like, he's a bit sillier in his War and Peace. He's not as stoic as Darcy is, so
Okay.
it'll be interesting, but he's a fantastic actor. I don't think it's a matter of, like, he can do
Mhm.
it, but, like, if I close my eyes, Darcy's got dark hair. He's got
Yeah.
brown eyes. Sorry.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think that's part of, like, pop culture now, right? Where
Yes,
it's like,
yes,
that's how we envision him to be.
yeah,
So yeah, it'll definitely be interesting to see it,
yeah.
for sure. So a couple lessons there is, yeah, in terms of Star Wars and, like, storytelling and, like, narrative and everything, just, like, how is it that you're kind of bringing those stories to life in your own marketing.
Mhm.
That's what like people want to hear. I just saw that Business Insider posted yesterday about how founders are expected to tell their stories more and more. And I think that's just like a real opportunity for, the founders to, be out there and talk about why they're building what they're building and why they care. As we talk more about like, the clipping and like, posting and creating content, I really feel that like customers are expecting that more and more. Like customers
Mhm.
want to hear your stories about like why you're building what you're building and why they should choose you. And less about product features, which can be so boring these days. And there's so many companies that are doing the same thing that
Mhm.
it's just really like, how are you going to stand out when everybody has AI and everybody has the same features, right? So really going back to like why I care, why I'm passionate about what I'm building, and like talking about that. People want people that know what they're doing to prove that they know what they're doing and that I can trust you to be building this thing, and not just like talking out of your ass because like you wanted to create, it reminds me, YC just like had their request for startups come out yesterday. And I'm like, how many times has somebody come in and like built something because like YC told them to build it, but their heart's not really in it. So
Yeah.
like, do they actually ever like succeed instead of trying to find that thing that like you're super passionate about and then building that thing? So takeaways for everything is, yeah, pretty much, thinking about how you can be creating that content that people want to listen to. And yes, it's easier to do it in written form just because you don't have
Mhm.
to put your face out there, but more and more people want to see people's faces, and that requires you to be on video. So,
Yep.
start testing out how you can actually create that sort of content. And then maybe it's not you as the founder, maybe it's like, people within your team that do want to be on camera, right? Like you
Mhm.
have um people no doubt that are like subject matter experts talking about the product in a way that has a storytelling like narrative component to it, and not just announcing, hey, we have this feature, yay. Because like that's just not going to cut it anymore. And then yeah, nostalgia is still super in right now. We see it with Xbox. I wonder if we'll see it with, Apple. But yeah, figuring out like how you can tie it back to like your original like OG customers who like came to you for a particular thing, and showing that you notice them and you listen to them and you aren't just trying to extract money from them. And then the last thing is yeah, thinking about how you can like if you have marketing budget, how you can put that towards like new innovative ways of getting your product in front of people, and not just assuming that you have to go buy ads.
I think for me, it really comes down to being human.
Mhm.
Like the best human wins. And so when it comes down to how can you be unapologetically human, whether it be through your empathy for walkers or it be
Yeah.
your storytelling ability or your discernment, I
Uh-huh.
think everything that we've talked about really kind of highlights that it's the human that's wanted right now.
Yes, I definitely think we're gonna see that more and more, even if it's, in showing misspellings in your, like, posts, and then even, like, the competency porn that we're talking about, it's like people like that because they want to see that you actually are the one doing the work
Yeah.
and not like, AI is doing it for you, or, you're taking somebody else's idea, but that it comes like from you. So definitely agree with that. Be human and
Yeah.
prove it.
Yep.